Mav's Coffee Clarity with Denise is brought to you in partnership with Drive Media and Consulting and their premier sponsors. Subscribe on your favorite streaming platforms and share. If you just found us, welcome. And if you're a regular, welcome back. Denise DiGrigoli has spent her life in the creative industries as an entrepreneur, helping people transform their visions into thriving businesses, working with individuals and teams to find their purpose and live their life vibrantly. On her pod, Denise delivers business intel and life hacks with wit and wisdom in short shots like a strong espresso with a solid sense of humor. Enjoy this episode of Mav's Coffee Clarity, and here's Mav.
Welcome, my friends. You are on Mav's Coffee Clarity with Denise. We're a show to move you forward with wit, wisdom, and clarity. And come on, who does not need that nowadays? If you just found me, welcome. And if you're a regular, welcome back. This is like coffee with your sharpest friend. That's right. Wit and wisdom, one cup, one conversation at a time. To learn more about me and my business communication services, run on over to DeniseDiGrigoli.com, sign up for our bi-weekly brew, but hey, do it after the show because we've got a real maverick in the house today. I am so fortunate to be with Jeff Roy, the founder of Sound Coffee, that ties in coffee, roasting, music, and sustainability right here in Fairfield County. Welcome, Jeff.
Hey, Denise. Thanks for having me. Super glad to be here.
So glad that you're here with us today. Well,
so first, I must admit, I'm the co-founder. It's a business that I share with my wife. We both started it about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's called Sound Coffee. It's headquartered right here in Bridgeport. And this is a perfect podcast for us. Coffee with Denise.
Coffee. Doesn't coffee bring so many things together? I was saying to you in the pre-show call, so many things happen over a cup of coffee that are different than over a boardroom table, right?
Yeah, I mean, for years, right? I mean, even if we go back to the pre-revolutionary times, a lot of those meetings that those folks had thinking about how to, become a free country were done over coffee. So generations of us have really found our ways through conversation, through coffee, at coffee shops, at home, while we're traveling.
And in fairness to Jeff, I met Jeff at a farmer's market years ago, I think pre-COVID or right around there. And the coffee that he and his wife were serving was so fabulous. And we stayed in touch, and I just cold called you, and I was like, hey, I went to your studio. You have a new coffee salon over on
Fairfield Ave.
Fairfield Ave, that's right. Correct. So tell me first of all, you're a tech guy.
Yes. I think we got to go back to the beginning.
We got to go back to the beginning because this is a very unusual story. Tech guy turns coffee guy. That's your nickname, Coffee Guy.
Coffee Guy.
All right, tell us how this happened.
I mean, so the coffee is just my second act in life, if you will. But my first act.
You look awfully young for a second act, but okay.
We'll take it.
We'll go with that.
It's my mom's genes. What can I say? Yeah.
Okay.
When I graduated school in the 90s, in the height of the dot-com era, and really found my passion for computers and technology. And that was at a time where everything was exciting.
Did you drink a lot of coffee?
We drank a lot of coffee.
You had a lot of coffee.
Caffeine was always an important part of fueling us through those long nights and those long days. Mm-hmm. But we had some fun. We learned about how companies get founded, how to take an idea from just an idea in your head all the way to market and get ideas out to the community. And so it was just an interesting time. And I think I got bit by the entrepreneurship bug. And
that's interesting.
Although I'm doing coffee now, for me, it's just another company to start and another idea to take to market.
Well, what I loved about what you said in some of your pre-show was that you take your ideas and you test them and you see if they're scalable, and you do it with a little bit of rapidness, but you also do it with a little bit of thoughtfulness. Yeah. That's real maverick to me. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, you have to get through these ideas quickly, right? Because we all have a million ideas, and a lot of ideas just get left on the table or left on the floor. But I like to try to take as many as I can and actually at least get a little bit of data before we forget about them, before they drop off.
Are you writing them down?
Yeah, we do a lot on Apple Notes. That's a lot of where I keep my ideas, and whether I might wake up a little bit and text something to myself, or
Is your
I'm
wife
driving.
still heavily involved in the business?
Heavily involved?
Is she ideating with you?
She is, but like often when I say she's in charge of aesthetics, so everything that's outward facing to the brand or in the shop is really her ideas or something that she's working on. And I'm working on a lot of the back end stuff, the systems and processes that takes to keep the company alive.
So talk to our audience about ideating, because a lot of people say, oh, I'm not creative, Denise. I have no idea how you do it. But everybody can be creative.
Everybody can be creative.
Everybody. Look at the tech guy over here.
Yeah.
Well, so tell us how you do that.
I think maybe people misunderstand what creativity is. Like, it's not getting an empty canvas and painting with paintbrushes or taking photography. Yeah, it could be, but it could also be like, that button doesn't work really well. Can I make that button better? Or can I, take something that it's today 7 steps to do and make it down to 5 steps to save up some time? So that's creativity in a much more systematic way. So I think what it's probably important for people out there is to find where their creativity suits them best, right? And as if it is on a canvas, great. If it is in a process, even better.
Did you always know that you wanted to be creative?
No, I think I always wanted to take ideas to market. So be able to, and maybe this has everything to do with like this idea of coming up in the 90s. There were so many ideas and so many new concepts, and movies and culture were alive then.
Shifting.
Yeah. So there was a lot of experimentation going on, and I think that was just coded in my DNA is let's try these things, let's see what happens and see what people think of it.
So people say, oh, Denise, the podcast world is bloated. How do you make a difference? And I say, because I'm different and I'm constantly evolving. Now, how did we make coffee different?
Yeah, exactly.
Like you brought this idea to market, and I love it.
It's very much a commodity. You can get coffee in any number of different ways, and there's people that like this company that has green aprons, and this other one that makes donuts. There's lots of different ways to get coffee. But I also think, particularly here in Fairfield County, people want to know where their products come from, right? They want to trust a local source. They want to know where it's produced. They want to know, coffee is a simple ingredient, but where do those ingredients come from? What was the process behind it? Was it ethically farmed? Was it organically raised? So these are the questions that people have. And the closer you are to the source that makes that product, the better you can trust it.
And the happier the client.
And happier the client.
Yeah.
So although we're roasting coffee, and you can get coffee on our website, you can get coffee in a lot of stores in the area.
You sure can.
You sure can. You can also come into one of our 2 locations, right? And
where's the other one?
So where we roast the coffee is at 2040 Main Street in Bridgeport. And then we have the one on Fairfield Avenue in the Black Rock neighborhood.
So lovely there.
Oh yeah, it's a great location, but it's great for us to bring the community together, right?
Right.
And we could probably go on this subject for a while, but it's important to bring people together. Back to your earlier point, why is coffee bringing people together?
Why is coffee people coming together in your beautiful coffee shop?
Because people want third places, right? We a few years ago we were locked in our houses,
right?
And we've lost a lot of the connection to people. And so I think it's important, and part of what we're trying to do with our brand.
You couldn't be a better fit for this show.
is give the place where people can come.
Right.
And they may just be opening their laptop, but at least they're not doing that.
Well, you had music in there, and in your pre-show chat with me, you talked about music and sustainability. So that's a special side of your brand. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, so the music, we're called Sound Coffee for 3 different reasons, right? One is we are on the Long Island Sound, so we're in Fairfield County, Connecticut, right? And our roastery is just 3 miles from the water. So we use Sound Coffee to highlight the area that we're in. Mm-hmm. Music is a big part of where I grew up. My dad was a DJ.
Really? Where?
In New Hampshire.
Wow.
So music has always been a part of my life and part of what I know, and I love going to concerts and really, having musicians in our space. So that's really a big part. And then we're also environmentally sound. So we have sustainability practices in our brand.
That's by design, I'm sure.
By design, yeah. Uh-huh. I mean, there's certainly a lot of choices you can make when making a business. Coffee is a product that does get shipped all over the world. So it's sometimes not the most green in terms of where it comes from and how it gets here, but we try to find the fastest route to us. And we try to make sure that we're getting coffee that's ethically farmed and ethically sourced.
So how old is the business?
The business started in 2020. So actually 2019 into 2020, New Year's Eve, I was with my friend. We were actually at a concert.
What was the concert?
It was Fish at Madison Square Garden.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I looked over to him and I said, you know, this hobby that I've had for a while of coffee roasting, I'm going to make a business out of it. And he said, yes, you are. So
were you influenced by Fish at the time, or was this you were just going to tell him anyways?
So he's my best friend. So I think it was just something to say while we were there, but maybe I was in the spirit or in the moment. And yeah, we really kind of put our mind to it. And Sarah, she was very supportive of the
What
idea.
was she doing at that time?
She was, you know, doing a lot of freelance marketing. So those skills came into play a lot in the early days.
Did she bite down right away?
She did bite down right away.
She was like, yeah, I'm doing it with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
that wasn't a hard, there wasn't any convincing to do. It was just something that we wanted to do. Now, it was the smallest step possible, right?
Right.
It was, okay, how do we take this product that we're doing as a hobby and sell it to one person, sell it to 2 people, sell it to 3 people? And it took us a while to find, okay, what is our name? What does our branding look like? All the things that you go through in the first initial steps.
Yes.
Nothing hard, but while you're working and looking over a family and doing all the things that you do.
Yeah, so you guys are running your family. You're still in your jobs.
We're still in our jobs.
And you're
so
ideating.
We're just going through it,
Yeah.
right? And so that was 2019, 2020. Again, going back to the pandemic, they locked us in our house 3 months later, which was really an accelerant for us. Because we had more
you're
time,
home.
we were home, we could meet neighbors that were often going to the city before, but now they're at home, they're out in their yards looking for somebody to talk to. And so we started to introduce our coffee to them. We left it in that stage. You know, we started doing farmers markets. I think
That's how we met.
That's how we met at the barn. And that was the status for 2 years. It got to a point where it was more than a hobby.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough to sustain us financially. And in order for us to really move it forward, we needed to invest more money, put more resources to it. And so that was a conversation. And there were 2 paths in that road. And we chose the path that said, go forward, keep going. And so we purchased the building on Main Street in Bridgeport to get a bigger roaster and really push into the brand. We relabeled everything at that time. We were called a different brand before, but we got new packaging. We really went for it. And yeah, slowly we
What was the biggest obstacle as you were doing that?
The biggest obstacle in terms of moving forward is we kept our full-time job as long as we could. And so
how did you know when it was time to go?
Well, there was going to be, there's many paths you can even take on this. So one of them was we were just going to hire somebody as a general manager or an operator for the business, and we would sit on the sidelines and kind of coach them along and, you know, really advise them on where to go. But it was clear that we started it for a reason. And
what was the reason?
The reason was this was a business we wanted to be involved in, right? And so what I had to learn was that I was addicted to somebody paying me twice a month.
I had that early on too. That's rough to let go of.
It's rough to let go of. And,
right.
you know, with open eyes, Sarah and I, you know, we went down the path and we decided that this is what we were going to do.
Right.
And so that happened just over a year ago, where I left my permanent position.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How has that felt? You felt like a navigator back then, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we were addicted. So I tried to do it in October, and it took me to May to actually do it. So it took some time to
But not that long in really real time. October, November, 6 months, you were out.
I mean, I don't know. I always love to pull the future forward. So it seems like a long time to me.
Okay.
And a lot of sleepless nights in between. Do I, don't I? You know, walking it back, thinking about it, and thinking of strategies. So
what do you do when you have doubt to move yourself forward from that?
I think the more it's like you have to talk to somebody about it. For me, and whether that's Sarah or any of the advisors I have in my what I would call kitchen cabinet, right? I think that's a term that a lot of people use, but there's a lot of people that are in my life that are have gone down different paths, have started businesses, and they're all super helpful to where I am. You know, I didn't get to where I am without any of these people, and so I'm thankful for all of them.
You got to just touch that back wall for me
Yeah.
because the back wall is trying to come after you.
The set's moving in.
The set's moving in. Hold on. Okay, but you know, these things happen in real life, my friends. I don't know what we did there.
All right.
Is that better? Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Wonderful.
The set had too much coffee. All right, back to your business with Sarah. So now you got the big fancy building
Yep.
and you're roasting. And what's the biggest gremlin creeping over beyond the paycheck?
The biggest gremlin. You know,
Are you able to make sales? Are people responding in the way you want? Because you are a wholesaler as well.
you know,
So it's not just a retail coffee shop.
the way I look at it, there's 3 lines of business. There's the retail, so the two locations where people come in and see us and see the brand and kind of understand what we have. There is the direct-to-consumer, and that's really where we started with our online presence and people ordering. And we have a subscription service, so a lot of people get fresh roasted coffee every week off our website.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. This is something new.
And that's really kind of what the core of the business was for the first couple of years, and still is a strong part of the business. And then we have the wholesale business where we're selling to other cafes, restaurants, retail shops, you know, a lot of local areas.
Is it just you and your wife now, or you have other people?
So now I actually have 8 employees.
Wow.
Yeah.
In 5 years' time,
Yeah,
congratulations.
thanks. Yeah.
Is the coffee business as tough as people say it is?
I mean, it is in a way because it's like a restaurant where, you know, you have to let people know that you exist and they want to come and see you, and there has to be a reason to drive them to spend money with you over another place. So it is competitive. I think in the area of Bridgeport, there really isn't a lot of coffee now. So I think we have an advantage, and particularly this great spot on Fairfield Avenue. There's a community there that coffee shop has actually existed there for 13 years. And we're just the latest steward of that space. So I didn't have to train people to how to get to that door, walk in that door. We had a built-in customer
Okay, you had it
base.
built. But you changed all the branding because I went to the opening. It was spectacular.
We had to put our mark on it.
Of course.
Yeah.
So now you're in the coffee business. You're with your wife. You've opened this new space. Tell me how you manage and keep it all going. And what was the greatest triumph?
Yeah.
Not just the traditional one that someone's going to expect you to say, like I opened the doors and I had walk-in traffic. What's the greatest spiritual or emotional triumph you've had? Because you're a tech guy going to coffee.
Yeah. I mean, what drives me is like meeting people and talking about coffee. So like now that we opened our doors, I get to meet so many people that traveling on 95 and pull off for a coffee, people that have just found out about us and maybe our neighbors. Like all those conversations really spirit me.
Uh-huh.
One of the things that I think really lit me up as, you know, kind of the owner of the brand is we have an opportunity or the current coffee kiosk at the Bridgeport Amphitheater where they
Wow.
have over 60 shows typically a year. So if you talk about integrating the 2 things I love most, coffee and music, it's right there.
You hit the gold mine.
Yeah, so just last week, Ringo Starr was there, and we were able to serve coffee and listen to Ringo Starr. You know, there's so many really amazing paths that have collided for me to be there, and so that's a big part of our brand, something we're really proud of.
Did you let it manifest, or did you put the energy out there in advance? Like, how did this? When you say all these things, you know, happen to you, was it part of a grand business plan, or are you just lucky?
I mean, luck. What is it? Luck, fortune's the prepared.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Chance favors the prepared mind.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Are you super prepared?
I think we're prepared to have a conversation, right? And so you can see it in a business where you could spend all your time roasting coffee to perfection and never, you know, put your eyes up from the tunnel, right? And I know I could make my coffee, I don't know, 10% better if I just spent 5 more hours a week on roasting that particular coffee.
Really?
But I'm just saying as an example.
No,
right?
I don't know about coffee roasting, so this is fascinating to me.
But if I took those 5 hours a week and talked to 5 different people in an hour conversation on a podcast or whatever, like you never know where that's going to go.
Oh, yeah, we're
right?
going to booyah this out.
It's kind of a long story, but if you're willing to tolerate it.
I'm here, and you're on the mic. You might as well let it rip.
So when we were first starting our Main Street location,
Right.
scary. We didn't have enough money. We were looking for funding sources. And
I don't think any entrepreneur ever says I had enough money, right?
Exactly. So
And it's scary.
We know that the city of Bridgeport is really interested in having new businesses move in, right? And so there's a lot of grants and programs and things that are between the city and state that you make available to yourself. So I called the Department of Economic Development asking for such opportunities to see what was possible.
And what was possible?
They didn't have much. But they did say
They didn't have much.
there was a program at University of Bridgeport that was helping new manufacturing businesses come to market, and they called it a business accelerator.
Mm.
And so the gentleman in the office, Max Perez, he gave me the contact of Sherry Denti of University of Bridgeport and said, call Sherry and see what happens. Okay, that's great. So I called Sherry on a Tuesday. I remember it was a Tuesday.
Mm.
Sherry, I hear you have this wonderful program for entrepreneurs such as myself in the city of Bridgeport to help our business go forward. And Sherry says, yes, it meets today for the first one. And if you can make it, you can join the group. If you can't, you can't. So we said yes.
And you went.
We changed my calendar so I could go. And I had no idea what it was. I sat for the first hour just trying to figure out what this even is.
Mm.
But it was clear there were resources, there were advisors, there's a program there. And so we hung in there. It was a 40-week program, 2 hours every Tuesday.
40 weeks?
Significant investment of time and
Wow.
energy.
That's a lot. Well, good for them. And good for you.
Because of that,
Mm-hmm.
that left us a path to get to the amphitheater. If I didn't say yes on that Tuesday.
Chance favors a prepared mind.
If I did not go on the first Tuesday, I'm too busy.
I'm
It
tired.
sounds like a lot. 40 weeks. Are you
I had
kidding
too many
me?
coffees.
You know, all these things. So
Yeah.
I think we don't say yes to everything, right? We have to make an educated call of time and prioritization. But that one, yeah, you could say it was luck. You could say it was the right opportunity. You could say the universe provided. I don't know.
I think you have an open mindset. When you're an entrepreneur, you take chances,
Yes.
calculated risks,
Yeah.
right?
I'll tell you another story just like that.
Go ahead.
So we had our first location on Main Street. We have 200 square feet of retail there. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing the people that walk in the door, but 200 square feet
Tiny,
only allows
but
you
nice.
a space this big.
Yeah.
So we have 3 chairs, not 2, but 3 chairs. And we have amazing, intimate, great conversations with people.
I need to do a live podcast from there.
We'll come there. That's the next one.
That's the next one.
So
That sounds excellent.
we were going to maybe build out a bigger part of that building.
Right.
So we could have a bigger cafe because we were getting, at points in the weekend particularly, too jam-packed. People wanted to come in and talk to us and have some coffee and all that stuff.
Mm.
So at the beginning of this year,
Mm-hmm.
Sarah and I were trying to figure out the budgets and the funds
Mm-hmm.
to build out that space. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Around that time, there were all these holiday markets
Yes.
we were popping up at. And I saw at this holiday market at Park City Music Hall, the landlords of the second location. Okay. And I said to them, I hear that, maybe that guy is not interested in continuing on with the business that's in that location. If that's ever true, just come and talk to me. So 2 months later, they called me and they said, that thing that you said, I don't know why you said it, but you said it. And would you like to actually take over the space because the current business owner doesn't want to do it anymore? So I don't
Now,
know.
would you say your entire life was that way?
I
And would
don't-
Sarah say that about her life? Like, are you always just stepping in it?
maybe.
Or are you in such joy that you're doing something that you love? It's just happening because you're always aware and on, right? Chance favors the prepared mind.
Yeah.
What's the best piece of advice that you're glad that you never used, that someone gave you?
What's the best piece of advice?
Well, someone that gave it to you thought it was the best piece, but you're like, yeah, no, thanks. Glad I took a pass.
It's hard to say like one thing, but I think everybody will experience this is particularly when you own a business, is everybody's got a lot of ideas on this. You should have this on your menu. You should do this. You should do that.
This is a good spill the bean right here.
Yeah. So, and like this is part of the conversation. We have to have an open ear. We have to have an open mind and consider it. But
fried snails to dip in my coffee.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of great people have great ideas, but they also don't know the path that you took to get there, and like all the sacrifices and changes and things that you had to make. And so, I'm just always weary of people that haven't started a business and giving me advice. But we still listen because I still don't know the path that they took, right?
Right.
So it's never like one thing that we've gotten terrible advice.
So you're a good listener.
We're a good listener.
And you discern.
We try to. Are we perfect?
No. Now, how does your family feel about this? You have younger children, don't you?
We just have one boy. He's 15. He's actually starting to get involved in the business.
He is,
so
okay.
He's starting to.
Now, I'm in family business with Troy. We have one daughter as well.
Okay.
She's been in, the art restoration business. How does the family communication and dynamics roll there?
I think we're still learning a lot, there. There's, it's always an active everybody's mind in conversation, and it's harder to separate work and home life.
Oh, big time.
It's really challenging. And so
I say the fur used to fly in our business the first 5 years. Like, I don't know, someone's hair was falling out or someone was ruffling. But then when you kind of figured out where you shine the best or what you handled the best. Now we've been in, this family business for 20 some odd years. But I often ask, we have a little segment called Ask Mav and the Fox, and we get a lot of questions about husband and wife businesses because we are. What's the greatest thing about being in business with your wife?
I mean, just sharing this experience, like,
Did you guys ever think you'd do this?
No. I mean,
and what's the worst thing about it?
The worst thing about it is just figuring out that communication. And so, we're trying a lot of strategies to make sure that we're both aware that at this point in time, we're going to talk about business. Because
that's a good piece of advice.
Often, we may be in different places at that point. Like that might be the time that our mind is trying to rest or we're trying to be on a break, but yet the other person wants to talk about business. So,
that would be us.
So we're working on maybe creating scheduled time. We're not perfect here, right? But we're working on creating scheduled times to talk about business, to make sure
be aware.
Like you would.
Yeah.
If you're working for somebody, you're not going to run to your boss's house at 8:00 at night to ask them a question.
Only I might, but I don't know. No.
Right. And it's
true. It's true.
Frowned upon to maybe call somebody, at certain hours. We're always emailing, and there's stuff that can be handled async. I think the thing when you're in family life, there's no such thing as async. It's always, you're talking in real time about it.
Now, the one observation my daughter would probably say about us is that she felt growing up we worked around the clock and, the business was consuming. And I think when you're starting it off and you don't have, a traditional flow of cash flow, backyard tree producing green hundreds, it is consuming. How do you guys now, because retail can be that way, restaurant work, how do you guys keep that under control?
I don't think we figured it out yet, to be honest. Because we've just opened the shop 3 months ago, it is very consuming right now. But we're trying. So we've got to make sure we hire the right folks, and make sure we have enough staff so that we don't take on extra responsibilities and start to dole it out, just like any company would, right?
Right. That goes into the scale and being mindful and the ideation. Now, tell me about your menu.
Yeah.
Tell me, because you've got some fun things on the menu.
Fun things. So we're a coffee company first, right? So we do
coffee
always. First. So we do roast amazing coffee. We have anywhere between 8 to 12 different bags of types of coffee, whether they be single origin and blends. And we do try to create some variety in that so people can experience coffees from other countries or other locations. So that is always evolving. Now, I just drink mostly black coffee. So that's perfect for me because I can pick any.
Did you grow up drinking coffee?
Yeah, since the age of probably about 13. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think we had it in our baby bottles, but good.
Yeah.
So you got the coffee.
We got the coffee, but then we also, a lot in coffee shops is lattes and cappuccinos and espresso. So we have a great menu of that. We make our own homemade syrups in-house with great recipes.
I tried that, and I'm
Yeah.
glad you're saying that. And the other thing I want to give a shout out, this is a non-paid episode, my friends. When I went to the opening, and I'm a coffee connoisseur and a little coffee snobby, if the truth be told. Truth.
You're my type of people.
Right.
Yeah.
Went to Italy. Like, your barista made me the most fabulous cappuccino with the most artistic crafted design with her foam and however I can't master that. And I have a lot of coffee machines in my house. And I thought the presentation said a lot about the brand. It was like you felt like, again, the coffee world's a bloated world. Podcast world's a bloated world. You felt like you were somewhere that really mattered. And it was busy in there that day. Is that by design? Did you hire the right person? Is that part of your vision? Like, where does that come from?
Yeah, I mean, we're really lucky that we have seasoned, talented baristas on staff. The ones in that store particularly, they were already there. So, like, we were able to bring them into our fold when we took over that space. But they are all super talented. And, yeah, I know that day you either had a drink from Hannah or Jamie, and they're both wonderful.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's part by design, and they help make sure that our menu is interesting. So, yes, we can do the classic cappuccino, but we do have a number of, like, right now we have a tiramisu latte that is, like, wonderful. It's
and we're going to have to venture over there tomorrow.
We're going to have one tomorrow.
Absolutely. So as you're scaling this business, what's your intention?
My intention is to make it sustainable, right? That's first and foremost, and give a platform for some of these wonderful people like Jamie and Hannah, a career that they can grow off of, right?
Wonderful.
You know, it's tough living in Fairfield, Connecticut. It's very expensive from a housing perspective. So we want to make sure that we're creating wonderful jobs, wonderful careers for people right here that are interested in coffee. And we have that opportunity because we do roast our own. We have these wonderful locations. We have wonderful wholesale partners. So we're on that path to build that.
So you're like a maverick entrepreneur in today's times, right? And despite all the stuff that's going on in the world, what's your best piece of advice for someone that's starting or revamping a business? Because coffee businesses get revamped as well.
Sure.
And I don't just mean coffee business, but people that are changing careers and buying businesses that need to be revamped or starting up something that's been done before. What is it?
I'll tell you what worked for me. Like, it is important to have a business plan and, like, have a vision of where things are going and get down with the numbers in the spreadsheet. But also don't let that be the thing that you need to take to the next step, right? Start with the small parts, right? Anybody can go get a tax ID from the government and then incorporate your company, and that's less than $200. Now you have an existence, you have a space, you have a name, and then you can do the next iterative step, right? And every week, just try to do one thing that moves the ball forward. I think we can all, like, just say, well, I'm not ready yet, or my plan isn't perfect, or I don't have the right numbers yet, or I don't have the funding. Don't let that stop you, because you never know if you get one step further and you get a website out there as your third step, then who's going to find that and who's going to come at you and who's going to ask you questions and what path is going to be. So, and I see it a lot because people do come to me advice like, wow, you did all this. Like, how did you do it?
Yeah.
And like,
how did you do it?
How did you do it? You just one step at a time, right?
One step at a time.
And don't get overwhelmed with everything all at once.
What would you tell Jeff of 20 years ago?
These are tricky questions because I had to go through the course that I went to. So I would just say, keep going. Just keep going and be open to ideas and be open to opinions of what other people have.
And where will we find Sound Coffee in 5 years from now?
In 5 years, it's incredible where we've been in 5 years. I wouldn't have thought we had 2 stores. I wouldn't have thought we had the amphitheater. So there's a lot of unknowns, but it's safe to say we'll have other locations. We'll be more than 2 locations. It's safe to say that we may have like a mobile truck,
So fun when I saw mobile truck in your pre-chat. I was like, yes, I love mobile truck. Yeah. So before we end, we are going to ask you to tell us about your socials and your website. What do you and Sarah do to keep your energy at a level that's productive? How do you refuel? How do you refresh? How do you stay sane to do all this?
Drink lots of coffee.
Yeah, well, I'm with you.
Yeah. I mean, that is...
Do you have a meditation practice, an exercise practice?
I like to walk a lot, particularly in the neighborhood. So I use that as a meditative walk. Even if have music in or a podcast in, I'm still kind of thinking about life and where things are going. So walking is just a big part of what drives me and helps me see through the other side.
Where can our friends find you, Jeff?
So on socials, Instagram and Facebook, we're Sound Coffee Company. And then our website is soundcoffees.com. You can order. We have a great sample box that you can try our stuff out, or you can come to our location on Fairfield Avenue or Main Street in Bridgeport.
I'm going to recommend that. Listen, my friends, thank you, Jeff
you,
Roy.
everyone.
You have been on Mavs Coffee Clarity with Denise, and if you haven't experienced any Maverick wisdom today, I think you better re-listen. Follow me on all social media channels, wherever you listen to your favorite pods, and visit DeniseDiGregoli.com. Peace out, my friends. Mav and Jeff have got to get back to work.
Thanks, Denise.
Hey, that's a wrap for today, my friends. Thanks for listening, subscribing, and staying connected with me. Head on over to DeniseDiGregoli.com and learn a little bit more about my creative and strategic consulting services. While you're there, drop your name on the contact page. Sign up for my bi-weekly brew. It's fresh ideas delivered to your inbox a couple times a month for clarity, creativity, and better communication. It's based on my 3 decades as an entrepreneur, helping other people and businesses move forward. It's great business intel and life hacks that you can use for work, life, and self-care. And come on, who doesn't need that nowadays? Have a great rest of your day. Peace out, my friends. Mav has got to get back to work.